So, hello everybody, welcome back. I wanted to talk to you right now about an economic topic, and it is about inflation. And I am going to start by telling you right now that inflation is not the rise in prices. No, 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 hell no. Here is the deal. Politicians have been meddling with people that are lexicographs, and when they do that, they do it to confuse you, and so that they can shift blame of things into somebody else. Okay, meaning when you see some prices rise somewhere, you are going to blame the person that owns that store, but in fact that may or may not be true. But if you see it across the whole place, then I can tell you right now that it is not the people that set up the prices' fault. It is actually the increase in demand or the increase in money available at that time. So basically, if you really want to know what inflation is, I suggest you get to an economic dictionary and then realize that inflation is the increase of supply of money, or the supply of the demand for something in particular that makes it go crazy. So it's kind of like, think about it this way. If everybody can sell, sorry about that, I got interrupted. So if you see an increase in the supply of something, then that also may increase its price depending upon another factor. It is a factor of if you want to supply something more, then you probably need to demand something more. For example, let's say that you want to produce more rice, and the supply of rice now is growing. Yes, but how the hell did you produce that rice? Well, that rice was produced because, everybody bought fertilizers. So the fertilizer prices are going to go up like crazy. Why? Because everybody is buying it, okay? And if you go to the store, everybody is like, okay, I want more fertilizer. And then the store might be like, okay, it's a back order, or we don't have it, we are producing it, or whatever. And there is a rush in the thing. When you want to rush something, the time that you require to do it, that thing, called time, has a price. Basically, that's what you're paying, the rush. That's what you're, experiencing, the rush thing. For example, right now in the US, you have a lot of inflation that is due to the rise of the cost in transportation. Why? Because if everybody is buying online, then that means that you need more transportation. Now, my question is, if there are only 4 trucks, let's say, I'm making these numbers up, but so that you can make the point. 4 trucks for the whole, Florida state, and now you need 20. Now, my question is, how the hell are you going to get 20 trucks? You need to, you need money to buy them. You need to pay interest to get them. You need to make maintenance. You need to pay more workers. You need to borrow money. You need to do all these things also that you can get more transportation. That has a cost, and that is why things that are being delivered and stuff are getting expensive. Because if you had 4 trucks and then you only need 3 or 4, you're going to have the same prices because they are stable. But if they are not stable, then you are going to end up paying inflation someplace. When supply of things are up, the prices can be the same or they can be higher depending upon the factor that goes behind getting that thing, bigger. So, for example, let's say that it's not transportation and it is not, fertilizers. Let's say that every year you have a fruit tree, okay? Avocado tree. So the avocado tree gives you 200 avocados every year. So then you go and sell it. Okay, $400, you charge $2 each avocado, and then you're fine. All right. Except that this year, your plant did not give you 200 avocados. Your plant all of the suddenly gave you, let's say, 300. And then you're kind of like, oh crap, I have 300. What the hell? What the hell am I going to do with the 100, avocados extra? I mean, I need to sell it now because, it's going to go bad or whatever. And then the person that is going to buy them for you is not going to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I only have $400 to pay for you, so I don't know. So then he says, okay, how about this? I give you 500 for all of them. And of course, it's not going to be $2 for each one. That means that the price is going to go down. But you take it. Why? Because you need time. Where the hell are you going to store the 300 avocados? And it's going to cost you to maintain those avocados someplace and all of that. So in order for you to avoid future cost, you take your money now. That means that the supply is up, but the prices were down. So you need to understand how things kind of work. Basically, if you need something, you pay more for it. If you don't need it, you can bargain the price, okay? Now, I just have a new puppy, so I'm sorry. So anyway, before I continue, I wanted to remind you that down below is my email in case that you want to help me out by sending an Amazon gift card. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that one. And I am going to talk to you about two cases, as in how are people preparing for inflation. And I'm going to tell you that if you do the first one, you probably are going to end up, in a bad place if the situation is longer than 1 year. Now, if you're going to prepare for a temporary thing, then you might want to go with case A. But if you're going to prepare for a long-term thing, then you probably want to go with case B. Because, by the way, this is the one that I wish I had. So anyway, let's think that you think that, you're going to experience bad times and whatever. So what you do is you go ahead and you have $100. So let's say that you pay $3 in taxes, so you have $97. Out of that, you have to pay your rent, your food bills, and your clothes, and other things, okay? Because, you're renting and stuff like that. And this rent might be like homeowner reparations and maintenance if you do not pay rent because the place is yours. So basically, you are okay because you have $97. Now, this is year one. Let's say that you have, 25% inflation, okay? So that means that next year, you are going to have available $75 instead of $100. And then you're kind of like, what? Well, let's say, I'm going to come up with this number because 25% increase in everything. That means that you have to reduce 25% increase on the things that you're not supposed to use, kind of like your spare money. So in the year number 2, instead of $100, you have $75 to pay the exact same things that you were paying before. And on top of that, I can tell you right now that your rent is going to go up about 40%. Besides the fact that you don't have money for everything else. And then you're kind of like, what? Well, here's the deal. If you pay this yearly and you haven't negotiated your new rent and you were paying $1,000, your rent is going to, if they have an inflation of 25%, your rent is going to come up to be about $1,400. It is because the people that make money out of the rent, they have to pay more expenses for everything. Meaning, if they have to pay for light bulb, it's going to be more expensive. If they have to pay for electricity, it's going to be more expensive. If they have to pay for taxes and stuff like that, it is going to be more expensive. And they are not going to be willing to receive less money. So they are going to shift that burden to you. So if you're renting here for $1,000, that rent here is going to be $1,400, okay? So roughly, so just so that you can know. That means that you need to have a backup plan for the rent. That will be your biggest, problem. And this is going to create a whole of a lot of problems with homelessness and a hell of a lot of other things. But whatever, the point is that here also you were paying 3% in taxes. But in year 2, if you have a 25% increase in these and taxes, that means that this year you will have $75, because everything else is going up. So for example, I'm telling you this so that you can understand how things work. If you were going to buy, one soda can, it was $3 before, and now it's going to be $4. That means that your budget is cut 75, to 75%. So whatever money you're using to buy food, to pay the bills or whatever, is going to be cut like that. Now, you are not going to be paying 3 in taxes. Hell no. Just like the rent is going to go up, the taxes are going to go up. And now you're going to pay $4 in taxes. And then you're kind of like, what? Well, hell yeah, the same thing that happened, with the rent owner thing. The government now has more people that will be asking for subsidies or whatever. They will be having more expensive things that they require for doing their job will be more expensive. Paperwork, like bulbs, maintenance, whatever, transportation, everything is going to be more. So now it's going to be 4. So you used to have $100. Now is the equivalent of you having $75. Now, out of these 75, you have to pay 4 in taxes. That means that you actually have $71 for paying the same thing that you were paying before. Only the rent right now is going to be higher. So if you were paying here the rent, it's going to be around 20% more, whatever, and it's going to go crazy. And then you have the food and the bills. The bills, like water and electricity, may or may not be higher. Depends upon regulations and other things. But the point is that now you can only focus on 3 things: rent, food, and the bills. You can't focus on the clothing, the other things that you wanted, like going to the movies or going to a restaurant or whatever, because you don't have those $25. Now, it's very, very, very bad. So some people here will, come up with a solution and say, okay, I'm getting a lot of food so that I don't have to pay the food that much, here and in here. Yeah, that will work, like I said, if this is temporary. But it is not going to work if you have the inflation for over 2 years. Year 1, you might be okay. Year 2, you're going to go to hell. Period. It doesn't matter how the hell you look at it. And year 3, you're going to go to hell. Here's why. You started with 100, now 75. Now, we continue now with the 25% inflation. Now, 25% of 75, because, this is cumulative. So it's not like, okay, it's going to be flat. Oh, hell no, it's not flat. You get 25% inflation over the inflation that you had before. So this 75 is now going to come out to be 58. So year 1, you had $100. Year 2, you have 75. Year 3, you have 58. Now, when you have 58, you are kind of like, okay, what the hell? Because it's kind of like having, a little bit more than half of the money that you started with. So at this point, taxes are going to come up higher. Again, because they have to come, if the inflation is up, the taxes are going to be up as well. So 3, 4, and 25% of 4, that means that you have a 5. That means that you only have 53. Now, 53, my question is, what the hell are you going to pay with 53 if you have rent and you have the food and you have the bills? And at this point, I can tell you right now that your 2 biggest problems in the year, the first year after the inflation, is going to be your water. Why? Because water maintenance and water supplies are probably going to be, crazy. This means that the water that you're going to get to the pipe, if things are not being maintained, that water is not going to be potable, meaning you will not be able to drink tap water. Some people drink tap water and others do not. So if you were used to not drinking tap water, you might be fine. But here's the deal. That tap water, most people use it for cooking. But if that water is contaminated because, you know, maintenance is not being done or is too expensive or whatever, then where the hell are you going to get the water for cooking, and where the hell are you going to get the water for drinking? Hell, there are people right now here in my country that have to buy potable water to take the bath for the babies, because if you use water from the pipe, the baby might develop allergies. So if you have sensitive skin and stuff like that, then you probably also want to get, you know, potable water for everything, meaning your hygiene and your other things. And potable water is not the same as you having water from the pipe. Those are two different things. If you consider that the water that you're getting from the tap is not fit enough for you to drink, then you probably don't want it for cooking either. And that is why I have said in my videos for the water that you are doing a lot of miscalculations for the water situation. Now, this water is going to be very expensive. And you are going to have to pay for it, because you're going to have to pay it by bottled, by you having someone bringing it to you. You have to, you know, work it out, whatever, but your water is going to take a big chunk in this thing. And then in here, it is going to come up to the point in which, you know, you have almost half. 3 years ago, now you have only half of the money that you used to have, and you have the same things that you are supposed to be spending the money on that you were before. You still need to pay the food, you still need to pay the bills, and you still need to pay the taxes, and you still probably need to pay the rent or the home owner's insurance and the things that you're supposed to pay. So how the hell are you going to manage this? This is why things are going to go to hell, and people are going to be declaring bankruptcy and a lot of other things, and then, you know, you probably want to have another way of living, and it has been only 3 years. So I'm going to explain to you what you can try to do, but because it might help you. It will not necessarily help you entirely, but it might help you. At this point, like I said, you know, there are a lot of people that are having troubles with water, because water is something that if you don't have a lot of maintenance to the pipes, to the water pumps, to the electricity that provides the water for your house and all of these things, basically you are not getting water, potable water. And then you are also not getting water for the pipe. So you have two problems. You have no regular water and you have no water for potable water. And those two things are going to become really, really, really freaking expensive. Because guess what? You can live without food for a while. But water? Try living in a house for 48 hours with no water. Like not one drop of water. That is going to be your biggest problem. And if you're thinking that you storing water for, you know, whatever is going to work, yeah, I'm sorry. But it doesn't happen like that. Because water is a resource that you use daily. You can't just put a hold on this and say, okay, I have no money to buy the freaking water, so we're going to stop using the water. You just can't. So your biggest chunk and your biggest problem is going to get water. Both potable and non-potable. And then, you know, this is like the biggest thing. It's not even electricity. So instead of you handling this situation by paying money, because you created a hole in your finances, and this hole is called water, you have to protect this hole. And this is how you kind of want to do it. So I'm going to talk to you right now. This is a situation that happens to most people. That's why you want to avoid this problem. Now, situation number B. So you are thinking you have $100 in is year one, and you're thinking, okay, we are going to have inflation. For whatever reason, you believe you're going to have inflation. So how the hell do you protect yourself from this thing? Number one, if your house do not have water tanks, then get freaking water tanks. And don't get them small, like renewable daily, because it will be a problem financially. And it will also be a problem of you having to spend a lot of time trying to get the freaking water. So no, you need huge tanks. I have said this before in the videos about water. There are 3 types of tanks. There is the one that is in the air, the one that is in the ground, and the one that is underground. Each one has its own advantages and disadvantages, and then you need to figure out which one works for you. If you live in an apartment, you also need water containers. But you need containers in the showers, in the bathrooms and stuff like that, and it is insane. I'm talking seriously freaking, you know, going to hell kind of problem hell. And like I was saying, you know, I have several videos about water. If you want to take a look at them, you know, I would suggest you do that so that you can understand how to try to figure out what the hell to do. And you probably want to have also, people think about, you know, water, but they don't think about how to carry the water. If you're a man, you're going to probably be in pain by carrying so much freaking water. You really need to have wheel containers to move water around. Most people do not have those, and you really need those. but anyway, get to see those videos if you think that what I'm saying makes sense or whatever. So anyway, the second thing that people, you know, that someone who is thinking that there's going to be a lot of inflation should be doing is building a hell of a lot of a good garden. Because here's the deal. People that have experienced 1, 2, 3 years of inflation and stuff, yeah, if they start the garden right now, they won't have fruits or anything to show for. And then you are going to be starving. Because creating a garden with fruits and stuff requires 3 years minimum. And I do mean 3 years minimum. Sometimes it can take even 5 years. Some fruits will give you, some plants that will give you fruit will take 5 years to grow. And if you do not have a space, what you do is you figure out how the hell to make a space in the balcony to grow certain things. Or you buy dwarf kind of fruit trees and stuff. Things that you can hand manage. And hell, you can watch all you want on videos about how the hell to do gardens that are vertical that can work in an apartment. And if you live in an apartment, I will be asking myself, how the hell am I going to carry water? You know, if I live in the 4th building, in the 4th floor in a building, if I have to go downstairs to get water, and then I have to go up with the freaking water, how the hell am I going to carry that water 4 floors up? That's why apartments are completely different from houses. And it's also why you need different kinds of settings for a house rather than, you know, an apartment. I have mentioned this in the other videos. So you really need to figure out how the hell to make a garden, because here's the deal. Garden right now, it produces nothing. Second year, it might produce small things. These small things will help you. It might be $2 or $3 worth of food. Tomatoes, whatever. $2 or $3. But hey, you're making 75. You know? 75 is not the same as 78. And you are going to miss that, you know, every single cent that you're making is going to make a huge difference. Because if you're going from 100 to 75 to 58, you know, to 58, if you're making $3 right now, 58 is almost 10% of the money that you're making. See what I mean? It's almost 10%. So it's a lot. So you need to start with the garden. You need to start with the garden, and then you pay the food and the bills. But here's the kicker. Your biggest chunk of money, if you're preparing for inflation, disasters, and stuff like that, your biggest chunk of money has to be located into two things: the home improvements and the garden. And the home improvements means protecting things from earthquakes, because you're going to have a lot of explosions nearby. And every time that there is an explosion, you know, things are going to blow up, meaning your windows, meaning, you know, the light bulbs, meaning whatever. So you need to protect what you already have. Because here, you have $58. You cannot afford to buy clothing. Clothing for your freaking kids. Do you think that you will be able to afford, at this point, you know, a small accident in your house? Like a a broken window or something like that. That broken window is going to cost you $20 out of 58. You know, it's insane. I know, but it's just how it works. So, hell no. Your thinking always have to be protect what I already have. So you have to do a lot of home maintenance things. I have already mentioned this a lot in other videos. Then you have to think, okay, now that I have, you know, the fire extinguisher, the things, whatever, then now I'm getting the garden. Getting this garden is going to take a hell of a lot of effort. You really need to make all the family try to come together to try to make the garden work. This is so that you can know how much water you're going to use, how much sunlight, how much of this, how much of that, how much it's producing. Because see, most people are like, yeah, this seed says it's guaranteed to grow and it's supposed to produce 4 pounds of tomatoes. Yeah. And then you don't realize that you have snails in your garden, so the thing grew, but it was eaten by a snail, so now you can't count on the tomatoes. Or the tomatoes grew, but they didn't grow to be 4 pounds. It's only 2, because you didn't feed the plant with the right nutrients. See, plants have different kind of tastes and nutrients. They are different. You can't feed a rose food that is supposed to be for an avocado tree, because then they are not going to flourish. It's like you giving a baby, you know, a human baby, and you're feeding it with seeds. The baby is going to probably grow, but oh hell, it's not going to grow with the same that you giving it, you know, formula, or you giving it mother's milk, you know. If you do that, the baby will grow healthier. But if you give it seeds and fruits and stuff, the baby is not probably going to grow as good as it could, you know. Hell, for all I know, you can even make it sick by giving it the wrong kind of food. And yes, plants will eat different kinds of things. So you need to know all these things, and nobody tells you, because, you know, it's kind of like you learn on the process thing. And you really need to make it work, because like I said, it will take you at least 3 to 5 years to make it work. You can't plant an apple tree and thinking that next year you're going to have apples. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, right now the same problem happens, you know. So you have the food and the bills. But here's the deal: because you already did a lot of home maintenance things in here, maintaining here is going to be cheaper. Because all you have to do is probably clean it. Because things are not going to break as easy if you already protect them and if you already do the maintenance. So things are not, you know, that chunk of money is going to be very small amount from now on. It's like a funnel. You pay a lot, and then you pay less, and then you pay only the amount that is supposed to go out, like minimum. But if you don't do it here, it's going to go the other way. The funnel will go like this, and then it will wide. So pick wisely your funnel. And then now you can actually here, you know, you're paying from the 75, you're paying the foreign taxes, but like I said, you know, the homeowner's insurance and things and whatever is going to be less, and you are going to be able to manage, and you can still buy clothing and you can still buy things. And on top of this, you now have, you know, tomatoes and stuff that you are producing. So in here, in the year 3, you have the food bill, which might be lower. And for all you know, you can be, you know, let's say that you have an avocado tree or a mango tree or an apple tree, whatever, and it gives you, you know, let's say 30 pounds of that fruit. You're not going to eat it all. So you can do jams or something, and then you can sell it, or you can trade it. And at this point, you are making $10 to $20 over the 58. And because you don't have to pay water so frequently, meaning the water tank that you have lasts you 3 days, then you're paying water every 3 days. But here you're paying water daily. Daily. Here, if the water tanks lasts you a week, you're paying water weekly. It's not the same. And it's also not the time consuming. Because here, yeah, I have to do this once a week, you know, wait for the truck that will bring the water or whatever. But here, you have to do it daily. Meaning, every single day you have to spend 2 to 3 hours trying to get the freaking water. But here, it's once a week. Why? Because you did that. So, you have an increase of things. You have your water hole is kind of like not this size, but it is this size. You know, so you really need to learn about inflation. And the inflation thing means, basically, your money is not worth $100. Here is a $100 bill. This 75 is the same $100 freaking bill. But it is worth 75. Here, you still have the $100 bill, but it is worth 58. I'm not talking about the fact that somebody will cut your money. No, it's the same money, but the worth of that money is going to go like that. And if you have 25% inflation upon that, then guess how much that is. From here, you're probably taking $14 more. So if you were going to do this one more year, you will have, let's see, 58 minus 14. That makes what? You know what I mean? 30 something. 30, let's say 35, so that you can try to make it. 35. So on year 4, at a 25% inflation, your money is going to be worth $35. And that is if the inflation is stable during the year. Which, by the way, if it is a temporary situation like the one that they're having in the US, because everybody's buying online instead of going to the stores and stuff like that, and that puts a lot of pressure in the transportation cost, then it might be a stable kind of thing. But if it is not a stable kind of thing, and this thing is daily, then I am telling you right now, in Venezuela, we have this daily. Daily. You go to buy a bread in the supermarket, and if it costs you $1 today, tomorrow it will cost you $1.50. And if you don't get it today because of whatever, tomorrow it will be $1.50. Now my question is, how the hell are you going to get $1.50 if you know you're making a salary that is, you know, being delivered every 15 days, but the inflation is daily? See? So it's again another kind of chart. And that is why you really need to focus on these two things. Because like I said, food you can get if the garden is producing a lot of things and you're protecting the garden. Because by the way, you can be producing a lot of things, but then if somebody goes into your garden and overnight they steal all of your apple trees or your apples from your apple tree, or they steal whatever the hell you produce, then you got nothing. And then you will be hungry. So that's why I said in my garden videos that you really need to pay someone that is an expert on these garden topics. because that person might be able to help you to cover up certain things, to protect the garden from pests, and, you know, somebody that will come in the night like that, whoop, and then leave. And then leave you with nothing. Because people are going to be starving, and they are not going to have a problem jumping over their fence, taking the fruit, and leaving. So I just wanted to let you know how this inflation situation works, so that you can try to make it a better, you know, approach. Because food is renewable. I have said this 1,000 times. Food is renewable. Money is renewable. But maintenance and other things? Oh hell no, those are not renewable. So anyway, I hope this was helpful.